My name is Adrian Cross, and I'm 33 years old, a Denver-based architect specializing in sustainable design. For most of my adult life, I believed I had everything figured out: plans, blueprints, foundations, both in buildings and in relationships. I thought marriage was the one thing that would follow my carefully drafted plans. I thought wrong. 3 years ago, I married Elena Moreno, a brilliant medical resident. We'd met when I was consulting on a hospital project, and her determination had instantly caught my eye. She was sharp, disciplined, and seemed to value the same structured approach to life that I did. Together, we built what I believed was a rock-solid foundation: work hard now, start a family later, build a future that balanced ambition and love. We talked about everything before marriage: kids, finances, career timelines. Elena wanted 2, maybe 3 children. We agreed to start once she finished residency and tackled her student loans. It wasn't romantic, maybe, but it was practical. It was us. So on our 3rd anniversary, I made reservations at her favorite place, the Copper Lantern, a sleek downtown restaurant where she loved being seen. I arranged champagne, candles, everything designed to remind her we weren't just planners, we were partners celebrating love. Dinner began normally. She vented about the relentless hours at the hospital. I shared updates about my latest eco-friendly housing development in Boulder. We even joked about our upcoming Aspen trip. Everything felt predictable. Safe. Until she put down her fork, stared at her untouched salmon like it carried a secret message, and said, "I've been thinking about our future." I smiled, expecting talk of vacations, maybe even nursery designs. Instead, her words gutted me. "I've scheduled a consultation for a hysterectomy." The sentence didn't land at first. I blinked, thinking I misheard. "I'm sorry, what?" Her voice was calm. "Casual. Too casual. A hysterectomy. I want to make sure I never have children. Ever." The restaurant noise, cutlery clinking, conversations buzzing blurred into a dull roar. My champagne suddenly tasted like vinegar. My mind scrambled: 3 years of marriage, 5 years together, endless talks of baby names in schools, and now she was erasing all of it with one surgical decision. "When did you decide this?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "Over the past few months. Therapy helped me realize I don't actually want kids. I only said I did because that's what you wanted to hear." She finally looked up, eyes defiant. "I won't sacrifice my body and career for children I don't want." A knife twisted in my chest. She wasn't apologetic. She wasn't even conflicted. She was presenting her decision like a new subscription plan she'd signed up for. I forced a nod. "Your body, your choice." Her brows shot up, surprised. She expected anger, maybe begging. "That's it? You're not going to argue? You're not going to try to change my mind?" I set down my glass. "No. But understand this: I married you because we shared a dream of a family. If that's no longer true, then maybe we're not who we thought we were." The check arrived. I paid without looking. On the silent drive home, Elena stared out the window. I stared at the memory of my drafting table, where I'd been sketching plans for turning our spare room into a nursery. That night, while she slept, I sat alone in my office. I replayed every moment of our relationship, searching for clues I'd missed. Had she been pretending all along? Was I blind, or had she simply changed? At 6 a.m., I made a decision. I dialed my brother Nathan, my closest confidant and a divorce attorney. My voice cracked, but I said the words anyway. "I need to dissolve my marriage. Immediately." Nathan paused. "Adrian, what happened?" "She doesn't want children. Not now, not ever. Everything we built was a lie." On the other end of the line, silence stretched. Then his voice: "That's irreconcilable differences, plain and simple. If you're sure, I'll handle it." I was sure. Or at least I had to be. Because that night at dinner, my marriage died and I couldn't resurrect it. But what I didn't know was that Elena's bombshell was only the opening act. The real storm was still brewing, and it would drag me into battles I never imagined fighting. That morning, as I packed my truck with the life I'd built, I thought the worst was behind me. I couldn't have been more wrong. The truth about Elena's betrayal and the unexpected person who'd reach out to me was about to change everything. The morning after Elena's confession, I woke up in a house that suddenly felt like a museum of lies. Every photograph on the wall, every piece of furniture we'd chosen together, every drawer filled with things meant for our future seemed poisoned. I showered, dressed, and moved with mechanical precision, as if following blueprints for dismantling a life. While Elena left early for another 12-hour shift at the hospital, I stood in the doorway of the spare bedroom, the one I'd planned to turn into a nursery. My drafting table still held the sketches I'd worked on late into the night, a crib design, a rocking chair, shelving for children's books. I traced my finger over the pencil lines and felt the sting of betrayal. This wasn't just about kids. It was about honesty. About promises. About building a future with someone who had already decided she didn't want it. By 9 a.m., I called Nathan again. "I can't live here anymore," I told him. "I'm packing my things." He sighed. "Adrian, divorces are messy. Take only what's yours. Don't give her ammunition to say you gutted the place." I knew he was right. I emptied our joint investment account, money that had come almost entirely from selling my late father's construction business. That inheritance was the seed money for everything Elena and I were supposed to build together. But if she didn't want the life we'd planned, then she had no claim to the sweat and history behind it. I packed my engineering equipment, my tools, and a few personal belongings. I left behind the expensive furniture she loved showing off to her colleagues. I left behind the cabin keys to the mountain place in Breckenridge. Even that was part of the plan, weekends teaching future kids to ski. Now it was just another casualty. On the kitchen island, I placed the divorce papers and a letter I'd rewritten at least 3 times. "Elena, your decision is your right. Your body, your choice always. But continuing this marriage is my choice, and I'm choosing not to. These papers explain the rest. We'll communicate through lawyers." I placed my wedding ring beside it. The house echoed as I closed the door, as though it exhaled in relief at the silence. That night, I checked into a modest hotel on the other side of town. Nathan came over with takeout, and we ate in silence until he finally spoke. "You know she's going to fight dirty, right?" "She already fought dirty when she lied for 5 years," I said flatly. He didn't argue. The battle began almost instantly. By the end of the week, Elena had hired a well-known divorce attorney, Patricia Hawk, infamous in Denver for squeezing men until they bled. Her demands? Outrageous. She wanted half of my consulting firm's earnings, even though I'd built it years before we met. She wanted spousal support because her residency salary couldn't sustain the lifestyle Adrian had established. She wanted the Denver townhouse. And worst of all, she wanted my custom woodworking shop. That last one cut the deepest. The shop wasn't just tools. It was my father's old workbench, the one I'd restored after his death. It was where I built furniture by hand. It was where I imagined teaching my children to carve wood, to build, to create. She knows it's not about money, Nathan told me. She's targeting the pieces of your life that represented your dream of fatherhood. She wants to burn down everything that reminded you of what she denied you. And he was right. Meanwhile, Elena's family treated the divorce like an academic debate. Her parents, both professors, analyzed me as if I were a case study in fragile masculinity. At one dinner, her father reportedly said, "It's a classic scenario. The man collapses when the woman asserts autonomy." Her younger brother Marcus, a smug law student, took to social media with passive-aggressive posts about men who only value women for reproduction. He never mentioned my name, but the implication was obvious. The narrative spread: Elena was the brave, independent woman who chose freedom, while I was the shallow man who abandoned her because she wouldn't give me babies. It was maddening. They weren't just painting me as a villain, they were erasing the years of promises, the shared plans, the conversations where she had wanted children even more than I did. And then, just when I thought the loneliness would crush me, a text came that I never expected. It was from Maya Carter, Elena's best friend since college. Adrian, I know this is strange, but I'm sorry. I think Elena handled this horribly. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I stared at the screen, torn. Maya and I had always been polite acquaintances, nothing more. She was Elena's person, not mine. Reaching out to me could only cause trouble. But something in her words felt genuine. Not pity. Not judgment. Just understanding. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Against my better judgment, I typed back. Thank you, Maya. Maybe coffee sometime? I didn't know it then, but that one small message would set fire to a chain of events I never could have imagined. Because Maya wasn't just reaching out in sympathy, she carried truths about Elena that would unravel everything I thought I knew about my marriage. 2 days after Maya's unexpected text, we agreed to meet at the Iron Bean Cafe, a quiet spot tucked away in Denver's River North District. Neutral ground. Not the kind of place Elena or her hospital friends would frequent. I arrived early, restless, sipping coffee that went cold before she walked in. Maya wasn't flashy like Elena. She had an easy presence, dark hair tied back in a messy knot, camera bag slung over her shoulder. She looked more nervous than I felt. She slid into the booth across from me, eyes darting around like she was afraid Elena would appear at any moment. Thanks for meeting me, she whispered. I nodded. Honestly, I wasn't sure if this was a good idea. Her lips curved into a sad smile. Neither was I. But I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Maya fidgeted with the strap of her bag before blurting it out. Elena's been planning this for months. I froze. Planning what? That dinner. The hysterectomy. The way she told you. All of it. My chest tightened. What do you mean? She leaned closer, lowering her voice. She's been in therapy, yes. But instead of working on her marriage, she used it as a stage. Her therapist told her that her desire for children wasn't real, that it was society pressuring her. Elena decided the only way forward was to test you. To drop the news like a bomb and see what you'd do. Her words felt like knives. She tested me? Like I was some kind of lab experiment? Maya nodded, guilt clouding her eyes. I told her it was cruel. I told her marriage needs honesty, not games. But she insisted. She said if you begged her to stay, then she'd know you only loved her as a mother figure. And if you walked away, then you proved her right that you didn't love her at all. I sat back, stunned. So it wasn't just a decision, it was a performance. A deliberate ambush designed to corner me into losing no matter what I chose. She actually told you this? I asked, my voice shaking. Yes. And she was smug about it. Said she'd finally taken control of her life. Maya's hands tightened around her coffee cup. But after you left, she broke down. She calls me every night crying that you abandoned her. A bitter laugh escaped my throat. She's rewriting the story already. Making herself the victim. Maya looked at me with an intensity that startled me. She's always been good at rewriting the story. We talked for hours. Maya peeled back layers of my marriage I hadn't even known existed. She told me how Elena would complain about me in private, claiming I was obsessed with the future, nursery plans, family vacations, legacy. How Elena would roll her eyes at my traditional dreams, yet post glowing social media updates about our perfect life. She treated marriage like theater, Maya said softly. A stage where she performed as the devoted wife. But behind the curtain, she was restless. Conflicted. Competitive. Always trying to prove she was better, smarter, freer. Her words stung because they rang true. I'd noticed Elena's excitement felt rehearsed, the way she'd gush about baby names as if reading from a script, the way she'd post about house hunting like it was a reality show. I had ignored those warning signs, convincing myself she was just busy, just tired, just stressed. But Maya saw it all. Why are you telling me this now? I finally asked. She looked down at her hands. Because I felt guilty. I knew what she was planning. I told her it was wrong. But she went ahead anyway, and now she's turning you into the villain. I stared at her, conflicted. Maya was Elena's closest friend, yet here she was, exposing truths that made my chest ache. Over the next few weeks, our meetings became more frequent. Coffee at small cafes. Walks through Washington Park. Conversations that drifted from Elena's manipulation to our own lives. I learned that Maya was a freelance photographer struggling to make a name for herself. Her dream was to shoot for National Geographic, but she often settled for weddings and portrait gigs to pay the bills. Her parents were artists who dismissed her choice not to go to art school, claiming she lacked discipline. For the first time in months, I opened up too. About my guilt selling my father's construction business instead of carrying his legacy. About my fear that I'd spent so much time planning the future that I'd forgotten to live in the present. One evening, as the autumn sun dipped behind Denver's skyline, Maya said something that stuck with me. Elena told me you were obsessed with building the future. But maybe you were just trying to build it with the wrong person. Her words pierced me. Not cruelly. Not pitying. Just true. But the fragile friendship we were building didn't stay hidden for long. Elena noticed. She saw photos on Maya's Instagram. Innocent snapshots of landscapes, hikes, coffee cups that happened to include me in the corner. The backlash was swift and brutal. Suddenly, my phone buzzed with messages from mutual friends. Are you really seeing Maya? Did you cheat on Elena with her best friend? Elena unleashed a narrative that spread like wildfire. I had abandoned her during her self-discovery, then immediately started an affair with her closest friend. Maya bore the brunt of it. Elena called her late at night, screaming, accusing her of betrayal. She branded her as a homewrecker who had secretly plotted to steal me all along. The accusations were absurd, but they worked. Invitations dried up. Mutual friends blocked us. Social groups vanished overnight. Maya's voice trembled the day she told me, "She's ruining me, Adrian." My photography mentor dropped me from an exhibit because Elena convinced him I'm manipulative. I clenched my fists, anger boiling. Elena wasn't just fighting me in court, she was destroying anyone who dared stand beside me. And yet, through it all, Maya didn't run. She stayed. That loyalty meant more than I could admit. Because as Elena's world turned against us, Maya and I clung tighter to each other. And what began as reluctant friendship was about to evolve into something neither of us expected, something that would give Elena's accusations a twisted kind of truth. When Elena's accusations first spread, I thought the storm would pass. That people would see through the venom and realize Maya and I were simply two people caught in the wreckage of someone else's lies. I was wrong. Her voice carried influence. As a medical resident, she had a circle of professionals who trusted her word. My own friends, contractors, architects, former college buddies hesitated to challenge her. They didn't want to choose sides in a war they didn't understand. And so, it felt like the entire city turned its back on us. One cold October evening, Maya showed up at my apartment with her camera bag slung over her shoulder, her face pale from exhaustion. "He dropped me," she said flatly, setting the bag on the floor. I frowned. Who? Mark. The gallery director. He said he doesn't want drama in his exhibits. Elena told him I prey on vulnerable men to advance my career. Her eyes glistened, but she forced the tears back. I can't get work if she keeps poisoning my name. I felt something inside me snap. It wasn't just about me anymore. Elena was destroying lives, specifically Maya's, for no reason other than spite. "You don't deserve this," I said. "You're the only one who's been honest with me." She let out a bitter laugh. Honesty doesn't pay rent. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "Then let's build something that does." She blinked at me, confused. And that night, for the first time, the idea was born not of romance, not yet, but of partnership. Two people cast out from the same fire, forced to forge a new path together. We began small. Weekends became our sanctuary. I'd take her into the mountains, trails I knew from childhood, hidden valleys my father once showed me. She'd bring her camera, snapping photos of rivers cutting through golden aspens, of sun rays breaking over ridges. I'd carry my sketchbook, scribbling designs for cabins and bridges inspired by the landscapes around us. Those trips healed us in ways we hadn't expected. One afternoon, we sat by a campfire in the Rockies, smoke rising against the orange dusk. Maya turned her lens on me, studying my face. "You always look like you're solving an equation no one else can see," she teased. I chuckled. "Maybe I am." She lowered the camera. "Do you ever miss her?" I paused. The question burned. I miss the person I thought she was. The one who laughed at my corny jokes, who pretended to get excited over baby names. But that wasn't Elena. That was a mask. Maya nodded slowly. She wore a lot of those. The fire popped between us. For a moment, I realized how easily I could breathe in her presence. No performance. No manipulation. Just raw honesty. But Elena didn't stop. She showed up at one of my job sites, a new residential build in Highlands Ranch. Her hair was tied neatly, her scrubs still on from work, but her eyes blazed with fury. "You think you can just erase me, Adrian," she hissed in front of my crew. "You replace me with my crew. You replace me with my best friend like I'm disposable?" I froze, the entire site watching. My foreman shifted uncomfortably, workers pretending to hammer nails that didn't need hammering. I clenched my jaw. "Elena, this isn't the place." "It's exactly the place," she snapped. "Everyone should know what kind of man you are." Her tirade lasted 10 minutes before security escorted her away. By then, whispers had already started. Clients called later, asking if my personal issues would affect the project. She wasn't just trying to ruin my reputation privately anymore, she wanted to burn it down publicly. That night, Maya found me pacing my apartment. "She won't stop," I muttered. "She's like a wildfire, everywhere I go, she's already there." Maya placed a hand on my arm, steady and firm. "Then stop trying to outrun her. Outlast her instead." I looked at her, and for the first time, I realized she wasn't just surviving this storm. She was learning to stand taller in it. "How do you do it?" I asked. "How do you keep your head up when she's trying to break you?" She gave me a small smile. "Because she doesn't define me. Neither does anyone else. I know who I am, even if the world doesn't." Her words sank deep. Stronger than I expected. Stronger than I'd been. The turning point came during a thunderstorm in late November. We had gone camping near Twin Lakes, far from the city noise. But as night fell, black clouds rolled in, lightning slicing the sky. Rain hammered the tent until seams leaked, soaking our sleeping bags. We huddled inside, shivering. At one point, a crack of thunder shook the ground, and instinctively, Maya grabbed my hand. Her fingers were cold but steady. For a long moment, we just sat there, two people drenched, shunned, exhausted, but together. The storm outside felt like a reflection of the chaos Elena had unleashed. Yet inside that fragile nylon shelter, there was calm. Maya whispered, almost to herself, "I've always wanted kids. A family. Not the picture-perfect Instagram kind, just real. Messy. Loud. Full of love." Her voice cracked slightly, and I turned to look at her. "That's all I ever wanted too," I admitted. And Elena made me feel like it was weakness. Like dreaming of a family meant I wasn't enough. She shook her head. "It doesn't make you weak, Adrian. It makes you human." Lightning flashed across her face, illuminating the truth in her eyes. And in that fragile moment, something shifted between us. I didn't kiss her that night. But when she rested her head on my shoulder and I wrapped an arm around her, it felt like the first real home I'd known in years. We weren't lovers. Not yet. But we were no longer just two survivors clinging to each other. We were becoming something more, something dangerous to Elena's carefully spun narrative. The months after that thunderstorm blurred into a quiet but steady rhythm. For the first time in years, my life wasn't dictated by Elena's moods or expectations. Maya and I carved out our own little world, weekend hikes, late-night conversations, rebuilding reputations one step at a time. It wasn't glamorous. I lost clients, and she lost galleries. Money was tighter than it had ever been. But what we had gained was something neither of us expected: peace. And then, one morning in March, everything shifted again. Maya stood in my kitchen, sunlight spilling through the blinds, her hands trembling around a white stick she'd placed on the counter. I knew what it was before I looked. Adrian, her voice quivered, equal parts fear and wonder. I'm pregnant. The world seemed to stop. I stared at the test, then at her, then back again. A rush of emotions collided inside me: shock, joy, terror, disbelief. Are you sure? I whispered. She nodded, tears streaming now. 3 tests. All the same. I wrapped my arms around her, holding her so tightly I feared I might break her. 4 months, I'd been wandering in the wreckage of a dream Elena had ripped away. And now, here was Maya offering me the very future I thought I'd lost forever. It didn't feel like chance. It felt like redemption. We kept it quiet at first, savoring the secret. But as Easter approached, we decided it was time to tell the world, not through cryptic posts or whispered rumors, but openly, proudly. We chose Easter Sunday, partly because my family was gathering anyway, partly because it felt symbolic: renewal, rebirth, second chances. That morning, I slipped into a suit, the one I hadn't worn since my wedding to Elena. It felt strange, but fitting. Maya wore a soft yellow dress, her hand instinctively brushing her stomach as though she already felt the life inside. At my parents' house, we sat around the table, siblings, nieces, nephews, cousins, laughter filling the air. When dessert came, I tapped my glass. I have something to share, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. Every eye turned toward me. Maya's hand slipped into mine under the table. Maya and I paused, drawing a breath. Are expecting a child. For a heartbeat, silence. Then an eruption: cheers, clapping, my mother crying tears she'd been holding for years. It was the moment I dreamed of. And yet, beneath the joy, a shadow lingered. Because I knew Elena would find out. Sure enough, that evening, it happened. We hadn't posted anything, but one of my cousins snapped a family photo, me with my hand resting gently on Maya's stomach, smiles all around. Within hours, it hit social media. And within minutes, my phone buzzed. It was Elena. The message was short, almost cryptic: so that's how it is. I stared at the screen, waiting for the tirade that usually followed. But nothing else came. No threats. No screaming. Just those 5 words. For the first time since this ordeal began, I sensed defeat in her tone. Not anger. Not control. Just loss. Maya found me on the porch later, phone still in my hand. Was it her? She asked gently. I nodded. She knows. Maya's hand brushed mine. Do you regret any of this? I looked at her, the woman who had stood by me when the world turned its back, who had endured Elena's cruelty, who now carried the life we both dreamed of. Not for a second, I said firmly. I regret letting Elena convince me that wanting this made me weak. But with you, it doesn't feel like weakness. It feels like purpose. Tears filled her eyes, and she leaned her head against my shoulder. As the weeks passed, the noise of Elena's accusations faded. She moved on, at least publicly, retreating into silence. Some mutual friends resurfaced cautiously, testing the waters, but I no longer cared about their approval. My focus was on Maya, on the child growing inside her, on the second chance life had somehow given me. And yet, sometimes late at night, I still wondered. Had I failed Elena as a husband? Had I ignored signs that she wasn't the woman I thought she was? Or had she simply chosen a path that was never meant to include me? Those questions had no easy answers. What I did know was this: life rarely unfolds the way we plan it. Dreams collapse. People change. Futures shift. And sometimes, in the ashes of what's destroyed, something new and beautiful takes root. On Easter Sunday, as I watched my family celebrate and felt Maya's hand in mine, I realized I had gained everything Elena had tried to take away. But I leave you with this question. Backhand index pointing right: if your partner suddenly shattered the future you built together, would you stay and fight for the love you once knew, or walk away to protect the dream that still lived inside you?